through, now we've gone through the whole presentation. So there was a lot of, obviously they were talking, the gentleman from Stephen Smith Teamaker and the gentleman from Ritual Chocolates were both presenting. So we wanted to take a little bit of time afterwards to talk about what it is we learned and experienced. I first of all should be introducing this beautiful woman, Cecilia.
Hello.
Cecilia Frida.
You forgot my last name?
She is my mom.
She forgot my last name and I'm her mom.
Okay, so let me explain what we did here. They gave us tea tasting notes. This was so cool, okay? So they sent us a link ahead of time, but they also sent us, we got this box, this sealed box, and it had all of these different things in it that you see we've displayed here today. So we had, there you go.
There's the contents, they were all in here.
Little pencils in there. And we have these little, which my mother's using as placemats. They gave us, like, it's kind of cool. It's like a deck of cards, but each card tells you about the tea. Maybe I should
bring it up closer.
See it. So it tells you a little bit about the tasting notes, where it is from, which is really fun to see. To learn a little bit about world geography and where tea comes from.
There.
See them? So, and then we had all of these different sachets provided to us, and we were instructed to set up our cups, heat up our kettle, and print up this tasting notes piece. But what we decided to do was we made ourselves a little chart, because we started getting confused about what we liked with what. We have 3 teas. We tried a golden oolong, a black lavender, and a peppermint. And then we have 3 chocolates, which were the Peru 75% dark, vanilla. It's a Madagascar bourbon vanilla, I believe they said. There it goes. And then we had a juniper lavender chocolate. Which, does that make anyone else think of gin? Okay. I'll include a link so that you can go and find where these classes are offered, but they do these virtual tea tastings, so you get your little kit in advance, and then they're wonderful about answering questions that people put in the chat real time. So people were asking about, what about the microplastics leaching into the water, right? There's been a lot of discussion of that. And he said that at their tea company, they are very concerned about this. And so they are using, these are technically plastic, but they are made from cornstarch. So basically the way they told us to go through it was to take a little piece of chocolate, let it begin to melt, and then they actually advised us to slurp our tea. So they wanted us, instead of just, which we just started, you know, you'll see in the video, we just started doing everything, but they wanted us to actually make like a...
So you let it melt in your mouth is what they meant. Let it melt in your mouth a little bit, start to melt, and then slurp the tea over it and see how they complement one another.
Right, and we were asked to detect, do we think that, and then we were to taste a little bit more of the chocolate. So we were supposed to figure out, did the chocolate enhance our experience of the tea?
Or vice versa.
Right. Okay, Mom.
I just want to say, of the teas themselves, the oolong tea is a very earthy blend, is the word that comes to me. And it stands on its own and has a solid taste to it, a solid sensation that's consistent. But at the same time, it is able to be a baseline for other flavors. Whereas I'll say the peppermint, which is a very distinct and strong flavor, can tend to compete with another distinct and strong flavor. The oolong probably could pair with anything. Interestingly enough, the Peru chocolate, I think, the tea had the effect on the chocolate, not the other way around. Isn't that what we decided?
Yeah, that's what you said, yeah.
It felt like I had the chocolate taste in my mouth, let it melt a little, and then the tea came in and did its effect on, like, sort of like a taming or mellowing the taste in a good way.
And I thought that the lavender chocolate with the oolong made me think, if you had a lavender flavored dessert that you wanted to pair with a tea, an oolong would be an excellent choice.
And in that case, it seemed like, in one case, the chocolate was affecting the taste of the tea. In the other case, the tea was affecting the taste of the chocolate. which was interesting.
I said, in the notes during the tasting, I said, this lavender, everybody who watches Destination Tea knows that lavender is not my favorite. I'm like rose, vanilla, gardenia, jasmine, those are my flowers that I gravitate towards. And tons of people love lavender.
Yeah, I like lavender. I have nothing.
So I felt like having this lavender steeped in the middle of my teas, I was like, it was just affecting my experience of all of the other flavors and smells. Clear.
But ironically, the juniper lavender chocolate bar didn't pair well with the lavender tea.
Many people in the actual tea tasting wrote that into the chat. They said, I thought the two lavenders would be great together, and
they weren't. No. I don't know whether it was too much lavender taste or whether there were two different types of lavender. The vanilla bar,
okay, so that's the one,
went well with the lavender, and I think
that makes sense, doesn't it?
Even in your case, who didn't love the tea alone, I think when you had it with the vanilla, it worked. So
and I want to say something that we learned in this class, which probably is common sense, but he said the hotter a tea is, the less you will taste it. So that's interesting because a lot of times in afternoon tea, we want our tea hot. Like, that's a fresh brewed cup of tea comes to the table then. But he was saying it's gotta cool a little bit for your body and your taste buds to actually be able to start identifying those flavors. So I will say, when my cup was pretty low when I did taste the lavender with the vanilla. And then I was like, oh, and it felt like brighter and a little bit more like a delicious confection. Kind of married.
It's almost like the lavender, even if you like lavender, the lavender itself needed something to, balance it a little bit to its best self. And those of you who like vanilla candles, vanilla scent, vanilla has its own very distinct scent and taste, right? As does peppermint. And while the vanilla was an asset to the lavender, not so with the peppermint. It was just confusing. It was like two competing tastes. The peppermint was like, I don't need you. I mean, I do my thing on my own. And I just thought it made it taste.
I felt like a zingy.
Sharper. It was a sharper. Yeah. It made the peppermint too, like it was trying to compete.
Almost like medicinal.
Saying, no, I'm gonna go over you.
He mentioned the menthol in the peppermint, and maybe that's what was like really, popping out.
Strong.
Oh, you like the Peru with the mint.
I did.
Which makes sense.
I did.
Chocolate mint is such a popular...
Right. And this is basic chocolate.
Right, it's not flavor.
It doesn't have flavor, and the peppermint was allowed to be
But wait, now let's just try the lavender. Let's do it so people can see what it's like,
But the vanilla had a good effect on the lavender tea, which was nice.
Let's try the lavender chocolate, because we have no results about the lavender chocolate with the peppermint.
You don't?
No.
All right.
So here's how you do it. Little one. Let it melt. You could do this at home. It would be so fun to do with your friends for like a Galentine's.
Just taste it for itself, right?
Right, which I'm like, lavender. It's okay.
So, okay.
Lavender.
I mean, I like chocolate by itself.
What did he say? Sip it, but he also said smell it. Now taste more chocolate.
It's okay. I like it better with the Peru, but it's
not
okay.
Stunning or anything.
So it doesn't go against it, or it's not a negative thing. But
these are professional tasting notes, everyone. I hope you recognize.
Connoisseur vocabulary.
Does it make the peppermint feel like colder or brighter? You know what I mean? Like that's how it feels to me.
I have to do it again. You see what happens? You get confused.
But thank you so much for joining us today for this tea and chocolate pairing tasting with Stephen Smith Teamaker and Ritual Chocolates. So exciting.
I don't know. I wouldn't say the lavender is my favorite of the three, but I did like the lavender. Did you? Do you like the lavender tea on its own? It's not for you?
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm consistent to its best self, which according to me
And yeah,
I don't, you know, I never know what the correct language is for things. So I was writing into the chat on the thing. I was like, does anyone else think that the vanilla chocolate is making the peppermint taste spicy?
well, what's happening is I'm still tasting the peppermint primarily, but instead of it just being that peppermint chocolate taste, it's like a peppermint chocolate, and what the heck else is that taste? You know what I mean? What else is in the mix there? Bye.